I just noticed Strange New World series premiere quietly paid tribute to two Star Trek heroes. Strange New Worlds has carved its name in the ever-expanding Star Trek legacy by balancing classic optimism with modern flair. The series premiere, titled Strange New Worlds, is more than just a stylish reboot of the original Enterprise era. It's a thoughtful nod to the franchise's enduring spirit. But on a recent rewatch, something unexpected jumped out. The premiere subtly yet powerfully pays tribute to two unsung heroes of the Star Trek universe, whose influence quietly echoes through the episode's tone, structure, and character focus. These tributes aren't flashy or shouted from the stars, but they're deeply woven into the premiere's DNA. The heroes in question? Captain Christopher Pike, yes, the man himself, but not just the Anson Mount version, and Dr. Boyce, the original medical officer of the USS Enterprise from the 1965 pilot episode, The Cage. Let's boldly go into how the Strange New Worlds pilot honors them both, and why these quiet homages deepen the show's connection to Star Trek's roots. 1. Captain Pike, the return of a visionary leader. When Anson Mount made his first full appearance as Captain Pike in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, fans were immediately captivated. He exuded calm, integrity, and charisma. By the time Strange New Worlds premiered, Mount's Pike had already become a fan favorite, but what's most fascinating is how the series deliberately shapes Pike's journey to parallel and honor his original depiction from The Cage. In fact, the entire Strange New Worlds concept is built upon The Cage's vision, a Starfleet captain who is cerebral, haunted by trauma, but always driven by moral clarity. Jeffrey Hunter's Pike in the original pilot was a man burdened by loss and second-guessing his command decisions, a surprisingly deep portrayal for 1965. He even contemplated quitting Starfleet entirely. Fast forward to 2022, and we meet Anson Mount's Pike in almost the exact same place, reluctant to return to the chair, shaken by visions of his tragic future, and questioning the cost of leadership. A thoughtful mirror. The premiere doesn't just revisit Pike's origin, it reflects it scene by scene. Pike's cabin retreat in Montana calls back to the brief scene in The Cage where Hunter's Pike contemplates leaving Starfleet. The rustic setting, complete with a horse and introspection, is a clear homage to that earlier version of the character, who famously longed for simpler, more human problems. The recruitment by Admiral April subtly echoes how Pike was once pulled back into action after the Rigel 7 disaster. In Strange New Worlds, it's the Kylie 279 incident that forces Pike to return, but the internal conflict is the same. Both Pikes are driven by responsibility, not glory. By paying tribute to the emotional vulnerability and quiet strength of the original Pike, the premiere gently reminds longtime fans, Star Trek has always been about introspection as much as it is about exploration. It also reasserts the importance of leaders who are willing to face their demons and lead anyway. 2. Dr. Boyce, the quiet legacy of Starfleet's first healer. Dr. Boyce may not be a household name like Bones or the Doctor, but his short screen time in The Cage left a profound mark on the franchise. Portrayed by John Hoyt, Boyce was Pike's trusted confidant, a pragmatic, whiskey-sharing voice of reason who encouraged Pike to embrace his humanity even amid duty. What makes the Strange New Worlds premiere remarkable is how it quietly channels Dr. Boyce's spirit through a different character, Dr. M'Benga. While Boyce himself doesn't appear, his approach to medicine, mentorship, and emotional support is reborn in M'Benga's scenes. It's a spiritual continuation, not a direct recreation. M'Benga, a new healer, an old soul. From his first appearance in the premiere, Babs Olusanmoken's M'Benga demonstrates a rare quality among Starfleet doctors, deep empathy paired with unshakable professionalism. He listens more than he lectures. He treats both wounds and worries. In his interactions with Nurse Chapel and crew members, you get the same comforting energy that Boyce offered Pike in The Cage. Boyce famously told Pike, "A man either lives life as it happens to him, meets it head-on, and licks it, or he turns his back on it and starts to wither away." M'Benga doesn't say those words, but the spirit of that philosophy is all over the premiere, especially in how he supports Pike's return. The writers clearly modeled M'Benga after both the practical calm of Boyce and the emotional grounding McCoy brought to the original series. But it's the nod to Boyce, the first Star Trek Doctor, that feels especially deliberate. 3. A legacy in the details, design, dialogue, and dynamics. Beyond character arcs, the premiere quietly embeds tributes to these two Star Trek heroes in its production choices and structure. The captain's quarters and the whiskey glass. In one of the most telling homages, Pike shares a quiet moment in his quarters, complete with a glass of whiskey, a nearly shot-for-shot callback to The Cage, where Boyce brings Pike a drink to loosen him up. It's not just about the alcohol, it's about vulnerability. It's about leaders needing friends, not just subordinates. In this case, Pike is alone in the scene, but the spirit of that moment, reflection over whiskey, is intact. It's a beautiful, almost wordless tribute to Boyce's influence. Old school opening narration. Another homage, more subtle but no less important, is the use of the classic space, the final frontier narration. Hearing Anson Mount deliver those words in a cadence closer to Jeffrey Hunter's than Shatner's is a direct line to The Cage. That opening was the very first time those iconic words were ever spoken in Star Trek, albeit with a slightly different script, and Mount's delivery bridges the past and present beautifully. 4. Pike's leadership style, legacy over ego. While Kirk is known for swashbuckling confidence and Picard for philosophical debate, Pike's leadership in the premiere emphasizes collaboration. He listens. He defers. He empowers. In that way, Pike stands on the shoulders of both his previous incarnation and of Dr. Boyce's influence. The Pike of Strange New Worlds is the sum of those early lessons. He's a commander shaped by experience, haunted by knowledge of his future, and yet still humble enough to lead through service rather than command. His conversations with Spock are less about authority and more about mutual understanding. This again mirrors the Pike-Boyce relationship from The Cage, where Boyce didn't treat Pike like a superior officer but like a human being who needed perspective. Spock, in the premiere, adopts that role to some extent, becoming not just an officer but a confidant. 5. Why these tributes matter now. In a television landscape often obsessed with spectacle, these quiet homages could have easily been lost or overlooked. But Strange New Worlds shows its respect for Star Trek's foundational legacy, not just in flashy nostalgia, but in the emotional architecture of its characters. Honoring Pike and Boyce is a reminder that Starfleet captains and doctors don't have to be flawless, godlike figures. They can be hesitant, human, broken. That's what makes them compelling and real. The premiere of Strange New Worlds reinforces that this series is not about rewriting the past, but lovingly building upon it. And for longtime fans who have seen The Cage, who remember Boyce's quiet wisdom and Pike's burdened resolve, their legacies resonate loudly in the silent corners of this episode. 6. The enduring power of small moments. You don't need explosions to honor heroes. Sometimes all it takes is a familiar drink, a somber reflection, or the unspoken bond between a captain and a doctor. The Strange New Worlds premiere succeeds because it doesn't just set up an adventure, it reestablishes the soul of Star Trek by leaning into the characters that defined it long before Kirk took the center seat. It plants its flag not in